This is not one I prepared earlier, so I'm not going to tell you how to do this, but I hope you'll join me on this journey where we explore how to think about co-creating a sustainability curriculum for young people. And the reason why we're doing this is about a year ago we began kicking off, Janice and I had this idea 3 or 4 years ago, and I did say to her, no, we don't need a sustainability curriculum. I did say that at the time. I now have changed my mind, and I think the time is now. I think with the changes to the national curriculum and this idea about a local school curriculum being developed by the school is an absolutely classic opportunity, and it fits brilliantly with sustainability. We were just in a workshop there where we were talking about active citizenship at the local level, and how do you integrate that into the learning experiences of the children and the young people in your care, and how do you evaluate it, all those sorts of very interesting questions. So we have this magic moment in time where we can actually do this. The Scots are way ahead of us. They've got curriculum for excellence, but let's just ignore them for the time being. But maybe they can share some good stuff with us. You never know, they might have some good ideas. I have been looking for sustainability curriculum, how schools have been doing it, and how they've been embedding it. But I'm much more interested in how they created it in the first place. Because I think actually that's the key learning opportunity that we have, to think about not just getting a product at the end called a sustainability curriculum, but how do you engage young people in developing this together based on their interests, their issues, their worries, their concerns, and the things that they have some dreams and aspirations for. We're going to hear a keynote in a minute from Simon Kemp, and he's going to talk about freshers' aspirations when they get to university, what they think they're going to get out as competencies when they leave university, and how many of them are hoping for these sustainability competencies. They're going to be sadly disappointed, but but we could start maybe the journey a little earlier. So, I have not yet come across an example of a sustainability curriculum developed, co-created with the children and with the staff or the wider school community, which might include. If someone knows one, I mean, if you do know one, we're going to be contributing it here. But I think it's maybe a really interesting opportunity. Partly because I think it may take out the fear and the risk of doing something new like this, if it's seen as an educational project in and of itself anyway, and it's being done together as a learning exercise, rather than it being something that you have to develop yourself on your own, and then you have to run it, and it could perhaps not work. And maybe the government will change its mind about the national curriculum, and you've wasted all that time. But my idea is that co-creating with young people a sustainability curriculum actually becomes a learning experience in itself. So maybe instead of doing, World Environment Day or Green Day or Earth Hour or whatever schools are doing, there's loads of things. Your environmental activity for a year could be developing even a hypothetical sustainability curriculum together with your young people. So that's really where I'm starting from. And I think I'd start with 2 stories. I am an ex-teacher, and I was geography, but mostly maths, because I could get jobs teaching maths anywhere in the world, so I taught maths. But because I'd been a ranger in Scotland, I did struggle being inside a classroom. I still struggle being, I just need the outdoors in a minute, I really desperately need it. And so I would take the kids out, and also because, at the beginning of the school year, they divvy up the classes, and in the maths department there was a mad push to get the most able children. And the poor unable children, or less able children, would be left at the end, and no one wanted to have them. Maybe I was in a bad school, I don't know. But I thought it was outrageous, so I used to put my hand up first and say, I want class D, please, and they'd all look at me as I was mad. And I thought, no, because I can do something different there with them. I can do outdoor maths, we can do visits to supermarkets and do rates and ratios, we can do all those sorts of things. And hopefully they'll get some learning from it, because I think that's the academic side of teaching maths in a very standard way is not working for them. So I had the opportunity to try and do something different. And I did do this outdoor maths day with Year 8, 13-year-olds. And it took me 6 months to develop it, 6 months of mostly negotiating with other teachers. I was exhausted by the time we got to the day. But we did it, and all of Year 8 came out for the whole day, and even on the walk down to the park, we were doing maths. We were doing maths in the park, and we just kept going all day. And then I asked them to evaluate the day, just to write me a postcard about the day. And, you know, it could be something they learned, something they, you know, already knew but it looked better in the outdoors, or whatever they thought, it didn't really matter. And my least able child in Year 8 wrote, "That was the best day I've had in school so far." And she was 13, and I thought, well, that's really, I wasn't pleased, I was sad for her, I was really, really sad for her. And I thought, gosh, if I'd only asked them at the beginning, and asked them how they like to learn or where they like to learn, maybe she wouldn't have been able to answer that question, because she probably hasn't had the experience yet. But if I'd asked at the beginning, instead of, you know, halfway through the year, maybe I could have actually been even more efficient in developing stuff for them that they enjoyed doing, and things that they thought they wanted to learn about. So that was one of my first experiences. The other experience was actually, it was in the same school, and it was, I've been there 2 years, and at lunchtime, as a maths teacher, I was usually inundating the kids who couldn't do their homework, so I never had lunchtime for 4 years. But this lunchtime was different, because a group of girls came in and they said, "Mrs. Finlayson, we need you." And I said, "Oh, has there been an accident?" So I'm up out of my chair thinking I have to go. And they said, no, it's worse. What's worse than an accident? And they said, "Well, we're the Environment Club." And I'm thinking, I'm still not getting this. And they said, "Well, we've been meeting every Thursday for the past year, and we're so depressed." And I thought, oh my God, they were actually meeting and winding themselves up and getting more and more anxious and upset about the environment, and they felt was their inability to do something about it. And so that was really quite a wake-up call for me. It's so noisy. That was a wake-up call for me, because I hadn't realised that young people were that anxious about the environment. So holding those two thoughts together, when we're thinking about co-creating a curriculum, a sustainability curriculum for young people, I am quite worried about how do we ask the questions, how do we consult with them, how do we work with them that doesn't raise anxieties, because all the research shows that young people are anxious about the planet and the future, and whether it's going to be sustainable or not, whether the lights will go off, as we saw this morning. They are worried about those things. So that's the question. If you like, that's almost like the action learning. So I thought perhaps you might like to share some, examples that you have had of where you've had maybe a bit of an aha moment about something that young people have been particularly keen on, or interested in, or anxious about. And I thought we'd just create that list. So I'd like you just to say hello to the person next to you who's not spoken to them before. I know you two have, but anyway, I always know which to celebrate. I may do that still. Talk to the person beside you haven't spoken to yet, and have a chat about a moment where you learned something about what young people are interested in. How did that moment occur, and what was the thing that they got interested in? I'm going to capture those to see if there's a little bit of a pattern or something we can learn from that together. So, off you go. Off poster. This one was International Environmental Monitoring. 3 countries, pupils active, pupils sharing data. This one was wrote a tree. This is actually Simon's own project he did when he was a boy. He wrote a tree identification computer program and it taught IT as well as ecological skills. How old were you?
It's a very basic program.
It doesn't matter. Good idea. Right, setting up toy swap shop as enterprise project. Ooh.
So it was child initiated.
It was child initiated.
It was all school only because it was a small rural school. So it was
Small rural school, but it was up here. And this is not a criticism, right? This is not saying the ones over here are wrong or the ones up here are right. It's saying, where do we tend to have things? And if I wanted as a school to say, well, we want to do more child-initiated whole school things, what do they look like? So it's about gathering those ideas and saying, okay, well, we seem to have done a lot down here, we want some more up there. Do you see what we're aiming for here? Okay, this one says food miles.
We started off exploring food miles in class, so it's initially it was teacher.
So it started,
But
yeah.
that led to the children exploring the countries on their own,
Right.
and it led then to a discussion about world trade, and it then went naturally then into fair trade.
So it
And that
started...
It started off as a teacher idea.
Right, but it wasn't
But
manipulated, but
no,
it was, yeah.
But then it's
But
become
then it went
whole. Then it went
all
to
the
whole
way.
school. Yeah.
I think we need to hear more about this school because they keep going to the whole school, don't they? There's something happening here. Okay.
Do you want that one? Do you want that one back then as well? Then, which is the conservation.
Yes.
Which is that top corner.
This one here. Yes. So it's this
one.
top corner
Yeah.
here, the orangutan one, yeah?
Orangutan, yeah.
Orangutan. Sorry, I used to live
kind
in.
of on opposite ends.
Okay.
One's assembly on the 3 R's, so there might be a bit of participation, something that we deliver, but it's basically a 20-minute assembly, so it probably is fairly down. And then we're involved in a resource where we're getting students to develop an awareness campaign around waste and recycling, and it's about pushing that campaign beyond the wider school, the community, and it's very much student-led. So,
And where are you from?
Waste Watch.
So where do you want this one?
So I think quite near the top, and it's maybe involving some of the classes, but maybe the message is going out to the wider school, so I don't know.
So is it children initiated?
Yeah, the campaign is developed by the children, and then they take it out to either their wider school or their local community, however.
But you decide on the idea for the campaign.
No, they decide on the idea.
No, you
they
ask
just
them
know
to
the
create...
topic, but they just give the topic
Oh.
of we waste.
Right.
Yeah.
And then they decide to do something like a campaign or anything
however
else.
they want to.
And are they told they should go out to the wider community or... They just chose to.
Yeah, they can choose to
Alright, so it's
take the
probably...
message as far as they want to.
But it wouldn't be the whole school necessarily, but it's somewhere here. Yeah? Okay, great. I'll tell you what, bring them up. I'm going to take a picture of this and put it up on the website so that you can see that on our online conference, so that we've got all those. So why don't you come and put the rest up? You've got the general idea now?
On the online conference, can you give more information on that?
You would have been sent an email today if you paid. If you haven't, it's somewhere you paid. With a login, URL, a login and a password. And that gets you onto, and you get to see all of the videos of all the keynotes, all the presentations, PowerPoints, resources, and then there'll be some, mine is just more about an ongoing discussion around this.
Right,
Yeah?
thank you.
Yeah. I don't have anything about it. I don't initiate.